The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to the K4Wins. He is Kai Gregory, a handicapper for 4 different decades. I am Tony Kurre. I wouldn't say a handicapper. Well, I did sports radio, worked at ESPN. I use that term. Well, it's like journalist. You know, don't call me a journalist, but don't call me a disc jockey either. I'm a radio personality, sports, something or other. I'm important enough to be up in Washington, D.C. this past Saturday for the Saving College Sports platform or the roundtable. No. But Nick Saban was, and the four commissioners of course, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10, they were. Condoleezza Rice.
You said something for sure. You are definitely a personality.
Yeah,
Take away everything else in there, but you're definitely a personality. So I got to ask before we go in there, Tony, I got to interrupt. What'd you do for your birthday?
You know what? It's nothing exciting. There were no strippers. There were no late night card parties at a limo service like there used to be. Taylor Hicks was not at my birthday party. But I always do things for my kids. So my daughter had another birthday party on Saturday on my day, and she said, "Do you mind if I go?" I said, "Absolutely not. Go do your thing. That's fine. I just want you to have a good time." So I went and bought her a dress. I always buy my things for my kids. So I bought her a dress, and then my son, who obviously everyone knows, was adopted and got special needs and stuff. He had a play date with a friend of his named Seth, who he knows from school, and it was the first time that he's at a play date with a friend outside the house. And he's 19. Nice. He turns 19 in June. So I mean, it was. How
did it go for him?
Fantastic. He's like, Dad. He goes, two things: don't follow us, and don't embarrass me. And I was like, really? He's like, don't embarrass me and don't follow me. Don't. And so I got it in one of those massage chairs up in the upper deck there by the candle place, and I just sat there, and mine was broken, so I didn't take any money, but I just sat there and took a nap for about an hour and a half. And they just walked around the mall by themselves and had lunch, and it was just magical. It's really hard to have play dates with special needs kids for obvious reasons, because parents like myself are overly protective for every reason, and you have every reason to be protective. They're hard to get in contact with. You don't know what their needs are. And so, you know, I've got my own thing. And so you almost have to have a parent there with it. And in this particular case, it just worked out great. So that was what I did. It was fantastic. And yeah.
Well, good birthday.
Not bad for 60. I've got, this is going to be my decade, my friend, because the 50s decade fucking sucked. I'm just telling you right now, all the shit that could have happened in my life happened in my 50s. And so I'm just like wiping that all out. And from 60 on is all good. It is going to be fantastic. Speaking of fresh starts, let's get into it, man. 11 teams in the SEC. That means the Auburn Tigers are back in as one of those final 4 teams to get in with the 11 seed. That means the Big Ten lost 1. But congratulations, the Auburn Tigers in right now with a 16-15 record. That should just tell you just how brutal the SEC is. I don't remember a 16-15 team ever getting in at large. Do you? Can you remember? I've seen an 18-win team. I've never seen a 16-15 team get in, and what a 7-11 record in conference play. So that should just tell you something. Queens, the Royals. I love when teams get in for the first time ever. They win the A-Sun, so they're in. They were 15-3 in their conference, but the Queens Royals are going to be getting in to the big dance. The Troy men have gotten in. Congratulations to Troy. We know the Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide, they've always got a shot, but congratulations to Troy. And the 16-18 Samford women got into the tournament. So it's some fun stuff. Michigan, Duke, Florida, and Arizona. That's right. Florida now a 1 seed. Let's start right there. Will that be our 4 1 seeds when they do the big unveiling on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I think even if Florida was to lose their first game, which is probably not going to happen, I don't foresee them dropping. I mean, Florida's going to play the winner of the Missouri game, which they're going to play probably. I don't know. Florida could end up with Kentucky because Kentucky, LSU, the winner plays Missouri. So, I mean, it could be Florida, Kentucky again. I just can't see. If Florida wants to and if they have the desire, I don't see anybody beating them. I don't think UConn can unless maybe UConn won their tournament. I just can't see them jumping back up above them. I think it would have to be a Florida exit in their first game and UConn winning for that to happen.
And unfortunately for the Big East this year, you're only talking three teams getting in: St. John's, Villanova, which is that will never happen again. I'm just telling you, it'll never happen again with the likes of Georgetown, Marquette, Xavier. They usually have 9 or 10 bids in. So to win the Big East this year, quite frankly, ain't that big of a deal, which is hard to say because the Big East, from top to bottom, perennially has always been one of the best teams. So if UConn would win the Big East, I'm not sure if that would even be enough. But they've been sitting there at the number one for a long period of time. By the way, Georgia 8, Arkansas 5, Vandy 5, Kentucky 7, Florida's got the 1 seed, A&M a 9, Tennessee a 5, Alabama's up to a 3 seed. Texas, Missouri at 10 seeds, and the Auburn Tigers at the 11 seed, just in case you're wondering from the SEC standpoint. And again, this is such a great time of the year. It is so important that you go to K4Wins.com and go to our site as many times as you possibly can, because we've got games starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. We got games all day long. It's already started. Conference championship time. The AAC is going on right now. I'm going to fixing to go down to the BJCC on Friday, go see my UAB Blazers. I'm going to tell them they're playing on the road. They were 10-2 on the road. Please play like you're playing on the road. But that game's going off 12 noon on Friday, and I just love it. I love whenever there's conference tournaments in my town because I'll check out every single game. So we're going to get after it, and it should just be a blast. But make sure you go to K4Wins.com and go as often as you can, because our lines are going to be changing and the plays are going to be changing. There's going to be games. I don't know how many times you do this stuff, so I don't know if you're in bed with this thing or not. It's probably like on your open tab because you're probably constantly changing picks, moving things around. I will tell you this. Someone emailed me, info@TonyCurryRadio.net, and I wanted to bring this email up. Have you ever picked a game on your site and then switched to the other side? And I unequivocally wrote back, no. I said, we have never done a situation where we have picked, say, Auburn's playing Alabama, and picked, if we like a side, we like it enough that it's going to cover the spread, the line move would have to move 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points in order to like the other side. It may move enough for us to take the play down, which we've done many times. And if you watch the show, Case Kiefer, who's with the Las Vegas Sun, he posts stuff like when the NFL lines come out, like Sunday night, he's on those games for the next week already. And he may get the Rams +7. And then by the time we do the show on Tuesday, it may be 3. And so we're like, well, wait a minute, how am I supposed to get 7? Well, you can't. I mean, unless you live out in Las Vegas. But I will say this, we have never gone as far as to say we take one side. And I think the reason he's asking is because there are a lot of people out there that pick both sides. So that can never be wrong. And we'll never do that. Correct? Right?
Yeah, and a lot of closing line value comes into play with that. And it's funny because I see cappers and cappers across the world do this. They follow other cappers. They want to see other people. If nothing else, to see if you may miss something. And a lot of times it's after the fact you go in and see somebody. But people talk about closing line values. People talk about, like last night, you could get closing line value with the Nuggets and OKC, where OKC was 7, it dropped all the way down to 4 on that. But if you played it early, you had OKC or you had Denver, ±7 and then to 4. So that 3-point swing. So no, and we generally don't. Like, for instance, today, all of our college basketball plays are posted. If we were to have something else, it would probably be an 8 o'clock game tonight, but don't want to do that. There might be some NBA or NHL updates, or even the World Baseball Classic. But more than likely, we have 7 plays up right now, and more than likely, and for a Tuesday, that's a lot of plays for us. It's usually 3, but we have 7 because there's so many tournaments and basketball games going on, stuff like that already.
Yeah, again, to get to it, K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. Before we move on, though, I wanted to mention this because I know several people did this, and on Kiefer and Kurre yesterday, Kip and I did an entire show on the roundtable they had in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. It was called Saving College Sports. And of course, it ultimately comes down to 2 things every time Donald Trump is involved. And I mean this in the most amazing kind of way. It's always the Democrats' fault. And he's going to have to write another executive order. And so he's going to do that. And then, of course, he's going to let the courts get it out. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Nick Saban was there. Urban Meyer was there. Adam Silver was there. It was a who's who, man. The Yankees president, Randy Levine, was there. Charlie Baker was there, the NCAA president. Of course, we also had Sankey Petiti, Brett Yormark, and of course, Jim Phillips also with the ACC. You did have one, and I mentioned this. Of all the people there, there was only one Group of Five conference there. That was the American Conference guy, and I don't know if it was because he was invited or not. I think he was just there. And the
Showed
second
up.
thing is there was not one college student there. And I said, this is like you and I talking about where we're going to send Grandpa. Grandpa's sitting in the corner of the room. He's 84 years old. He's cognizant. He can hear what we're saying. And you and I are like, so where are we going to send Grandpa? Yeah, he's banged up, man. He's really screwed up. But I know. Do you want to send him to that crappy place down the street, or do you want to send him to that place where it's going to, well, if we send him that, it's not going to. And he's hearing everything we're saying about him. And that's what the college students feel like right now because everyone's talking about them, but they absolutely have no say in what's happening right now. A lot of people would say they've had enough because they got their say. But I want to get your thoughts on this whole idea. Was it just a paper suit show? What the hell was it? Will anything come out of it? And ultimately, what do you think happens?
Well, unfortunately, I think we've let the snake out of the hole, or however you want to say
Snake out
it.
of the hole. I've never heard that one. I've heard toothpaste out of the
I mean,
tube. I've never heard snake out of the hole. That's good. I like that.
yeah, we starting to pay these kids. I get it, I do. But the numbers are stupid. They're ridiculous now. People getting $4, $5, and $6 million a year to play in college, where they're making more money in college than they would be in the pros, is ridiculous. If they don't, I don't know how they can backtrack and get a grasp on this, because nobody should be making $5 million a year playing sports in college, especially when they don't go to class. All these different things that we've heard, and they have to get somebody with a brain in there. And I do believe that Saban would probably be a pretty good person to put up there to do it. But it's got to be somebody that has college sports in the forefront of their brain as far as what matters. Everybody says these students aren't getting paid, haven't been paid, and they should be paid for the last 100 years. Bullshit. I mean, they got a scholarship to school. They got to pay for.
Sometimes
that
that's
is
millions
money.
of dollars. You go to Boston College. That's $250,000 a year. Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is. I understand the paying. I don't like it, but if my youngest or my daughter happens to get some money, then great and wonderful. I mean, I'm not going to buck the system, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see if anything comes out of that, and it's probably not, simply because what you said. Trump's for it, so that means Democrats are against it, there's nothing you can do about that.
I told a quick story yesterday. When I took my boy, we talked about it. He had a play date on Saturday. He's got some special needs. I took him up to the aquarium up in Newport, Kentucky, when he was like 6. They had this thing called Walk Across the Sharks, and it was a rope bridge, and you walked across this rope bridge, and you had to have some upper body strength, and you walked across this swimming pool with like these 20 sharks in it. So, and it was meant to be like you were walking across the sharks, kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of thing. And I said, "Do you want to do this?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Great." He legally blind, feeling his way through, he's holding onto the rope, and we get halfway across, and he loses it. And he's like, "I don't want to do this." And he's scared to death. "I don't want to do this." And I said, "You got to keep going, son." And he's like, "I don't want to do this." That's where we are right now with college sports. We can't go backwards. We can't. And you just brought it up. The money's out. It's done. We're not going back on anything. We may be able to reverse some of the transfer stuff, maybe some of the portal stuff, the NIL stuff. All the money situation is out there. When we put a $20 million cap on it, everyone, the top 8 teams in the league in college sports, blew past that in the first year because they knew no one was going to go after him for it. Texas Tech spent $56 million. $56 million Texas Tech spent, and there was slap on the hand. I mean, who's looking after this stuff? Because we got no one looking after that kind of stuff. So my point being is we are halfway across, and now we have to finish the deal. And there's going to be some things that people don't like. The other thing I said, and I said this to Kip, life ain't fair. It ain't fair. Okay. I'm sorry that you were born a female with a penis and you want to compete in men's swimming and we just can't find the seam of teeth. Life ain't fair. It's not fair for everyone. You're going to find out that it ain't fair in life, and some things you're just not going to get, even though you probably should. And in this particular case, there's probably going to be kids that probably can't go bowling anymore on their favorite leagues. Maybe they can't take archery. They can't do some of these things because college sports just will not be able to fund all these things. in order to play. And you may have more lopsided situations where, if you got someone, for example, if you want to be number one for the UAB bowling team, yes, they have a bowling team. They brought that back to me. And all of a sudden, someone wants to pay him $100,000 to be the best bowler in the world. You may end up having teams that are so much better than other teams. I don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is we can't go backwards. We ain't sticking the snake back in the hole, as you said. And so now we must move forward and figure out, okay, here's what we got. Now, how are we going to make the best out of what we have? But life ain't fair. These kids need to realize that $2 or $3 million at 18 or 19 years old ain't enough to live off of. I can tell you that right now. You and I remember growing up thinking, man, if I can make $1,000 for every year of my age, I am going to be rich. I was like 28 years old. I was making 28 grand. I thought, this is great. When I'm 60 and I'm making 60 grand, I will be flying. Well, 60 grand, now you're in poverty line, man. You're not doing too well. So these kids, I hope they realize that they have good accountants. I hope they have good parents to teach them what they do with their money. I did want to mention this, and I thought this was really, really cool because this is the first time I've actually seen a story where someone was actually doing something good. But an Auburn football player, Jordan Crawford, a defensive lineman for the Auburn Tigers, is giving back to his community, to his hometown by using his name, image, and likeness as NIL earnings to launch a new nonprofit aimed at supporting local families. He announced the creation of the Greedy House, an initiative designed to create resources, mentorship, educational programs, tutoring, mental health workshops, and recreational activities for kindergarten through fifth grade age kids. According to the nonprofit's website, the Greedy House, they provide food, school supplies, hygiene items, books, essential resources to students and families who need them most. I applaud your effort.
It sounds like a perfect name for something for the NIL, the Greedy House.
It really does. And that may have had something to do with the name of that. It's a great story. It's the first kid I've heard anywhere in college sports who has taken his NIL money and actually did something good with it. I'm sure there's some kids that are, filling up the church basket on Sundays with some of their cash, but it's so good to see him giving back to his community. I think that is just a wonderful thing. And I'm praying this kid just lights it up on the football field. I think that's a fantastic story. I we'll get the thoughts of Case Kiefer and Kip Kiefer coming up on Friday's show at 10 o'clock Central Time right here, where, by the way, you can check us out on Tony Kurre Radio. You can hear us on the app. You can hear us on our YouTube channel, which is live, on X, on Facebook, and all of course, the social media platforms. We have all those things up on any major podcast platform. You can find a Tony Kurre Radio, so get after it. All right, so tournament time. We have these at-large bids. I absolutely love the at-large bids. I don't know if Queens is going to win their first game or not, but I just think it's wonderful. I love the fact that Sanford girls are in with a 16-18 record. I love the fact that Troy's going to be getting in because it's such a huge thing. I remember the last time the Sanford boys got in, I think was 2011 or something like that. It's been quite some time.
I'm going to tell you what, the Sanford girls, if there's not an upset in women's college basketball for a tournament, I feel for them because they may end up against UConn. They go in at the bottom seed, and that would just, that'll be a 120 to 35 game.
It will, but man,
Ariama will run that shit up in a heartbeat.
What a great opportunity, though. You know what I mean? I'd rather go lose by 90 than not make it at all. And I remember when Jimmy Tillett, who was the coach at Sanford, and I like Jimmy a lot, not the greatest basketball coach, but was a super good guy with his time, was always nice to us on the opening drive. I remember when they won their conference during the SoCon and they got a chance to go. And for those kids to be able to go and play on that stage and be in the middle of what we call March Madness and to have their name, SAM, up in the corner of the TV during the scores is just an amazing thing for like a school like Sanford that just doesn't get a lot of national recognition. So I think that's fantastic. And I think it's wonderful. And people are like, oh, they don't have a chance to win. Who gives a shit? You know what? We've had a 16 beat a 1, man. That's already done. We've already seen that happen. But like you said, I think you posted a 65 on like an 80-point women's basketball game. They both covered.
We posted two 60.5 lines this year.
And they covered, both covered?
Yeah. Ole Miss and LSU both covered, yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because, we're an hour and 8 minutes from a tip-off of the first game today that we actually posted in the Baylor-Arizona State game. And I'm seeing all kinds of movement for Baylor in this game. And I get it. But, I'll go ahead and throw it out there and let you know. I like Bobby Hurley's team in this situation. I think they can keep it within that number. I don't know if Arizona State can pull off the win, but I like them to stay within 5.
Pair of 16 and 15 teams you mentioned. Let's go through some of the games here because we have just a whole host of them here, and it's great to build up that profit margin a little bit before the big weekend. So perhaps you get drunk and make a really stupid call at 3 o'clock in the morning, or get online and start making bets you don't remember. We got Pitt and Stanford, not particularly interesting. Alcorn State 9-22 against Prairie View. No one really gives a rip. Utah, Cincinnati, Syracuse, SMU, Maryland, Oregon. Again, you're seeing a lot of. You're waking up like, wait a minute, what's up with the shitty lines? What's up? This is the first round. This is
But
where.
you've already said two games that we've posted,
Yeah.
two other games besides what I told you. I mean, you've already said that the Pitt Stanford game, good little matchup there. Loving that matchup, and we see some distinct value there, just like the Wake Forest Virginia Tech game.
I'm gonna throw one at you, bro. Let's see where your brain is today. See how much kind of homework you done. In the Coastal Athletic Championship, a little bit later on this evening, 6 o'clock, Monmouth against Hofstra. Hofstra is going up to 4.5. The over under 133.5. Normally, in a game like this, I wouldn't even look at it and handicap it. I would be all over the 133.5 because there's some numbers. I love 43s in the NFL. I love playing over 43s. They always go under, but I love the overs, and I love 133.5 for some reason in college hoops. It seems like it always goes over. But Hofstra and Monmouth, one of these two teams will make the big dance. Who do you like?
That one I've been up back and forth all morning on. We've been kind of riding Monmouth during this tournament and coming into the finals, but Hofstra plays a little bit better defense. They have a better rebounding team, and it's one of those games that I do not like. I'm not going to play it. If I had to, I would probably take the points. I wouldn't lay them, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see Hofstra, win by 8 with the line as low as it is. It just depends. It's funny you bring that up because there's another total on the board that you're supposed to take under. Siena and Merrimack. It's all the way down to 124.5. And I absolutely love the over in that game. It's generally speaking, this should be a 58-52 game and stay way under. But the fact that it's in the tournament and the way things go, and the fact that there'll be more fouls if it's a relatively close game. I mean, inside of 10, 12 points, you're fouling all the way down to the last 5 seconds.
Yeah, because this is it. Particularly in championship games. Yeah, that's where you only play overs in championship games because they're going to be fouling with 3 minutes left. Sure.
If you're going to play the under, you play the under in the first half, and you take a halftime line, and you take over in the second half because that's where the fouls are going to be, especially if it's a close game. But I do like the over in that game, and that is one of our posted plays.
Really interesting game too on the Southland semifinals today. Stephen F. Austin playing Texas A&M Christian. Stephen F. is 27-4. If they don't win their tournament, they're probably not going to get an at-large bid, which is hard to believe, but that's just the way it is. As of right now, they are in because they think they're going to win the Southland. But they're only giving up 7.5 against a pretty scrappy Texas A&M squad. What you think?
It's hard to get away. I mean, we had Texas A&M in 2 of their games. They didn't cover one of them where they were -6. I think they won by 2. Stephen F. Austin is a very good three-point shooting team. Texas A&M Corpus Christi actually plays pretty good defense against the 3. But if it was 4, I would take Stephen F. Austin. I would take them, but I do not like 7.5. I don't like 8. If I'm going to play this game, I am absolutely going to take the points and run.
Another tricky game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, another tricky game out of the West Coast. The Zags giving up 7.5 and open to 6.5, 7.5 against Santa Clara, who's quietly having a fantastic season at 25-7. Again, the line's only 7.5. The Zags giving up 3. I would think the public would love the Zags in this spot.
Yeah, you would think so, and you'd probably be right. I'm the other side. If I'm playing this, I'm playing Santa Clara. I'm taking the points again. One of the things you do in tournaments is you look at what we talk about all the time, the blowout factor and all those things. Yes, but Santa Clara plays Gonzaga all the time. They know each other backwards and forwards. Gonzaga, one of their leading scorers, is still not playing in this game. It's probably going to be up and down. Gonzaga does not like to go slow. They're a very fast-paced team. Santa Clara will run with them. The total sitting on 161. But to go in reverse of what we talked about earlier, I'd probably go under in this game. Hadn't played anything yet, got plenty of time to look at it, but that's probably the way I would go.
And I could pull up the lines on these as well because most of these games I want to run. We're getting a lot of people, particularly one of my neighbors who just walked in my place. Welcome in. Grab yourself a pop out of the fridge. wants to listen to the show, and he's like, "Are you going to go
Golly,
through
where
the?"
are you from? Pop? God
Yeah,
almighty.
we're in Western Woods, dude. We don't. Yeah,
No, we're in
grab yourself,
Alabama. We don't call it pop.
grab yourself a pop there, brother. Wants us to kind of go through the SEC bracket, and I had that down today to go through. So let's do that right now. Do you have the lines for the SEC games coming up on Wednesday? I'll pull them up if you don't.
Yep.
Some of the early names. Let's go through the first four games. Let's start at the top of the bracket. Number 10, LSU against number 9, Kentucky. I think a lot of people would think, wow, what was the disparity there? Kentucky's not only at 9 seed. Yeah, believe it or not, LSU, despite they're not in, only 1 seed. What's the line on that game and who you like in Kentucky, LSU? That game coming up 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Well, the SEC needs Big Blue Nation to stay in it and be there for a while. That being said, they're a better team than LSU. Can LSU win the game? Sure. A lot of things have to go wrong for Kentucky for that to happen, and a lot of things have to go right for LSU for that to happen. Can all those things happen? Yes. But Kentucky -6, I think, is kind of a layup. And you know, whenever you see something you say it's a layup, you're supposed to go the other way. But I like Kentucky -6 in that game. Total's 153.5, and that's probably about right.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the line right now. According to Scores and Odds, it's up to 7.5. So there's a lot of late
Oh,
money coming on the
well,
Kentucky
that's
Wildcats.
moved in the last 2 hours.
It did. And right now it's at 7.5. Another line that's really interesting, 160.5, the over under the Auburn Tigers, another 7.5 over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That game going off at 2 o'clock tomorrow. What's your thoughts on the Auburn Tigers? Obviously, they've got to win. They've got to at least win a couple of games in the SEC. If they win 2 games, I think they're in. But if they lose this one, or obviously they lose this one, they're done. But I think they got to win 2 to get in. What do you think?
I think Hubbard's a little gimpy still for Mississippi State, and that hurts their offense tremendously. I don't know if I could lay 7.5 with Auburn against any team in America.
I hear you.
You know, including Sanford or Kai and Tony against them. I just don't know. They're so Jekyll and Hyde. But if Hubbard is not on fire for Mississippi State, they have nothing. He has to put up 25 for them to have a chance, and probably more than that. So, you know, it just depends. But I do believe it's Auburn. It was Auburn that he put up 35 in the first half against at home, but they're on the road. Hopefully, Stephen Pearl is a good enough coach to go, hey, guys, let's stop number 12 from Mississippi State from scoring, and we win easily. And we move on from there. But I could not lay the points. I've got to take the points in this game.
Man, I'm not jumping on here, but man, I saw Stephen Pearl yesterday speaking to the reporter. He just, man, he don't look like he knows where the hell he's at. I mean, I was waiting for him to come out with some good coach speak about where he's at, and he just looked like he was down. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you got your team on the cusp making the March Madness for the first time in your career. Texas Ole Miss. The Longhorns giving up 5.5. It opened at 5.5. It stays at 5.5 against the Ole Miss. Who you like?
I like Texas. I like Texas a lot, actually. In this, what I think is kind of a perfect spot for them. And then I could see them going on and upsetting Georgia also.
Okay. You may have something there. The last game on the schedule, and that, of course, would be game 4. Is South Carolina and Oklahoma. That's the 11-14 seed. Oklahoma giving up 6.5. It opened at 6.5, and that's where it's at right now. What do you got?
You got to wait till tomorrow for this game, I think, and hope that the line drops. I think the line will drop below 6. If it gets below 6 and it gets inside 2 possessions, I really like Oklahoma. If it's 6.5, 7, it's a game I probably don't play because I think Oklahoma wins by 6, something right around there. Anyway, I don't like the South Carolina team. And I always forget every time we're in here, every time we're talking Oklahoma's coach's name. But I just love the way the guy coaches. And so I think Oklahoma wins this game.
Missouri, Tennessee, Georgia, and A&M that you alluded to all have the double bye in Florida, Vanderbilt, Alabama, and Arkansas. Those are the guys that got the double bye. They'll play coming up later on this week. I just can't believe that we're actually having tournament play today. I'm so flipping excited. I mean, it's just because listen, March Madness is great. The bracket's great. Well, you're sitting there watching those games in Dayton, which is great. I love the playing games. It's just one of those people that, hey, I love it. I'm from that part of the country, so I absolutely love it. And I love it that Dayton's held on to those games for the last 30 years. I think it's super duper. But really, and while everyone's sitting there with their piece of paper and they're sitting there Buffalo Wild Wings and everyone's walking around with this sheet of paper in their back pocket for the next week and a half, 2 weeks or whatever, now is the best time because just think every time there's a game played, you're cutting the field in half. And I mean, we're going from games all day, all night. And then, of course, that second weekend, man, you're already playing just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 games each day. And next thing you know, it's over. And it's like, what the hell just happened? March Madness needs to last longer. That's why we need to expand the whole thing. It needs to go one more game. We need to go one more game, move it out 2 or 3 days. March Madness is over way too quick, way too quick.
Well, I can see that, but I'll go and say to a lot of people, I think that the conference tournaments are as important, if not more important, than the NCAA tournament, especially if you're a team outside of the top 10. But I mean, you play in these tournaments and you can be a 16-15 Auburn team, knowing that if you win 4 games, you're in the NCAA tournament. I think Bruce Pearl was a very good tournament coach, at least SEC tournament, stuff like that. So we'll see if Steven, his son, nepotism, can, catch a break and run that with Auburn as well. But I personally like this week of the season even better than the first weekend of March Madness, just because this week you have so many games. There's so many games that matter. And you see an upset in the first round, or you see a game that really doesn't matter today. But then tomorrow it means a little bit more. And they win that game, you're like, oh, okay. And then the next day it's little bit more. And these teams that win 2 games and then play somebody off a double bye in the SEC or the Big 12 or Big 10 or any of these, it's just amazing. And looking what's coming up. And so to be able to play with reckless abandonment, if you will, versus any time other, because if you lose, you're done. You know, a lot of these teams, if you lose, your season's over. Now, if Auburn loses tomorrow, is their season over? Probably not, because they'll probably make the NIT, CBA, XYZ.
No, they'll definitely play. They're going to play postseason somewhere. Yeah, it's just not going to be the tournament they want to play in.
But they want to play in the NCAA tournament, clearly. So they have the opportunity to go out and play with reckless abandonment and get a win. And then in that second win, and then once you get past that second win, if you're Auburn, you're thinking, okay, I'm 18-15. I've won 2 games. I'm in the tournament. Well, hell, and for them, they would have to beat Mississippi State, then Tennessee. And then they would have the opportunity against Kentucky or Florida. They've already beat Kentucky once. Obviously, I don't think they're going to do that, or Florida. But that would be a huge revenge game that I would love to see, because if the line's anything under 20, I would take Florida in that game. But it's amazing to me this time of year and seeing what can happen and what everybody thinks should happen, and then what does happen. Because let's be honest, there's going to be 10 upsets this week. And then next week, we're going to the NCAA tournament. And on Thursday, we're going to have a couple of upsets. Yeah. You know that. And then what's crazy is that Friday, you have all the teams that don't play Thursday, that play Friday. They're going to be making fun of if they're in the SEC, of the SEC teams that lost. If they're in the Big 10, Big 12, those teams lost. And then what happens? Well, you ran your mouth for your team. So what just happened to you? Now your team is that team that gets beat up on Friday, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah, no doubt. And you can certainly make an argument for the Auburn Tigers that today's it. They don't win today, they're out. They win today, they're in. I think we can make that argument. If they're one of the last 4 in and they win another SEC game, and I know it's against Mississippi State, but they are the 12th seed. I think that's enough to. Now again, you could have another 16 and 18 team make it in, and they're going to steal a bid. There's going to be some bid stealers. But last year there was not a bid stealer. We mentioned that. And because of that, we had a team that was 1-12 against Quadrant 1 teams. That was the North Carolina Tar Heels, who got in. And I was happy. I was glad the Tar Heels got in, because I think the tournament's always better when you got Michigan State in, when you got North Carolina in, when you got Ohio State in, when you got Michigan. I think that's wonderful. I'd rather see – but would I rather see North Carolina or Queens?
I'd like to see Queens against North Carolina and Queens win.
I would too. I would too.
It's great to see, some of these lines. I mean, we're talking about games, and you talk about Pitt and Stanford. I mean, Stanford's given up 5 today, which is I like Stanford, just so you know. But some of these games that I'm really, really looking at in these tournaments that just matter. I mean, hell, here's another Alabama team, since we're in Alabama, looking to punch a ticket. Jacksonville State getting one against New Mexico State tonight at 8. And you mentioned some of the other games. We mentioned Siena and Merrimack, but how about some of these games that nobody's thinking about? Alcorn State, Prairie View starting at 1 o'clock today. Grambling and Jackson State. We have a play on that game. Maryhurst and Long Island. We are 3-0 betting on Long Island University games this year. 3-0. And then one that I love, nobody's going to like this. UMass Lowell at 5 o'clock tonight against UMBC, which is Maryland-Baltimore College. Maryland-Baltimore College giving up 8. Watch out for some UMC and UMass Lowell tonight.
I'm sitting here looking at some. Yeah, I know it. You're already giving us up there. I was looking up the MAC just to see what the tournament odds were. In Miami, Ohio, obviously, it's been that one story that they've been undefeated all season long, and I think it's just a great season. And will they make it in as an at-large? They're going to make it in one way or another. I don't think they have to win their MAC, but I think they probably will. But I do, it's interesting too because talk about a crappy way to end a season. The MAC tourney, I'm just looking at some stuff. Favorites of 4.5 points or more in the MAC tourney boast a record of 39-6. Since 2017 in the MAC. Just some numbers for you that I found here, along with a respectable ATS of 26-18. So if you're favored by 4 points or fewer, take the favorite.
Miami of Ohio is going to be favored by way more than 4.5 points tomorrow.
No doubt. The 2020 MAC tournament fell victim to COVID-19. However, since then, favorites overall are a major role. The favorites are 17-5 straight up, 13-9 against the spread. Semifinal round of MAC tournaments have been the most predictable so far as concerned, 13-7 under the total since 2014. Yeah, so if you're playing the MAC, go get our numbers, K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. But Miami, Ohio, 31-0, will get into the tournament one way or another, whether they win the MAC or not. So that'd be interesting to see.
I agree. And, last week we only went 18-14 and 3. We had 3 pushes. So not anywhere near as good as the week before, but we tried to tell you 24-2 is just, that's not going to happen very often. Once is really, 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 really hard to do. A second time, I'm just going to call it damn near impossible. So that was great to go 24-2 2 weeks ago. But last week, back to reality, but still won 18-14. February 91-38. Year to date, Tony, 238, 134-5, 63.9%. And being successful with us is because of the fact that we have to agree. 4 of us have to agree on a game for it to get posted. People say, well, why do you do so well? Because we're not out there trying to sell you Tony's picks and Kai's picks and Case's picks and Kip's picks. We're out there trying to give you the 4 of us and what we come up with and what we have, combined. If it's 3-1, then guess what? We don't play the game. It's pretty simple. And there have been a lot of times that we have not posted games when we were 3-1, and I was the lone detractor, and guess what? We would have won those games. But
yeah. It happens. All right, we got to fly, man. Anything else you want to throw in there real quick? K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com.
I can't wait for Friday for us to be able to talk a little bit more about these games, see where we are after the first couple of rounds, and then also to talk about free agency in the National Football League, which is not as crazy as free agency in college football. And let's be honest, that's what the portal and all of this crap is it is free agency of the portal.
True. Thank you, my man. Have yourself a good week. We'll talk on Friday.
Enjoy.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.